Beneath the shifting sands of today's deserts lies a secret so extraordinary, it challenges everything we thought we knew about human history. Picture this. You're walking across a barren landscape, the sun blazing overhead, with no idea that just below the surface, the ruins of an ancient civilization spiral outward like a giant, forgotten fingerprint. These aren't just any ruins, they're the remnants of pre-Ice Age cities, built with such precision and purpose that their design still baffles modern archaeologists. How could societies from tens of thousands of years ago have created structures so advanced, and why were they buried, lost to time until now? The spiral cities hidden beneath our deserts are more than just archaeological curiosities. They're portals to a world we barely understand. Their layouts defy conventional explanations, with concentric rings and intricate pathways that suggest a level of sophistication we rarely attribute to ancient cultures. Some researchers believe these cities were hubs of trade, spirituality, or even advanced technology, thriving long before the pyramids or Stonehenge appeared. Others speculate they were designed to harness natural energy or align with celestial events. But one thing is certain, their existence forces us to reconsider the timeline of human achievement. What if our ancestors were far more capable, far earlier than we ever imagined? This isn't just a story about ruins, it's a mystery that rewrites the narrative of civilization itself. Over the next few minutes, we'll piece together the clues left behind by these enigmatic spiral cities, examining the theories about who built them, how they functioned, and what catastrophic event might have buried them beneath the sand. Along the way, you'll see stunning reconstructions of what these cities might have looked like in their prime, and hear from experts who have dedicated their lives to uncovering the truth. By the end, you'll never look at a desert the same way again, because somewhere out there, hidden in plain sight, lies evidence of a forgotten world, one that could change history forever. So let's begin the journey. The spiral cities buried beneath our deserts are unlike anything else in the archaeological record. Their winding, concentric layouts seem to defy logic. Why would ancient builders go to such lengths to create these labyrinthine designs? The answer may lie in the way these structures interact with their environment. Take the ruins beneath the Sahara, for example. Satellite imaging reveals massive circular patterns stretching for miles, with pathways that curve inward like the arms of a galaxy. Some researchers argue these spirals weren't just artistic choices but practical solutions, channeling wind currents to cool the cities or directing water flow in an era when deserts were lush and fertile. Others point to celestial alignments, noting how certain pathways line up with solstice sunrises or key constellations, suggesting these were more than just homes, they were living observatories. What's even more striking is how similar these designs appear across continents. From the Gobi Desert to the American Southwest, spiral city remnants share uncanny resemblances in layout and scale. This raises a tantalizing question. Could these cultures have shared knowledge across impossible distances, or did they arrive at the same solution independently, driven by universal human instincts? The precision of the construction adds another layer of mystery. Without modern tools, how did they achieve such flawless curves and symmetry? Some theorists speculate they used ropes and pegs to plot the spirals, while others wonder if they had access to lost technologies we can't yet comprehend. Perhaps the most compelling theory involves sound. Experiments with sand and vibration show that certain frequencies can create spiral patterns naturally. Could these cities have been designed to amplify or harness sound waves for communication, healing, or even energy? Ancient texts and oral traditions from indigenous cultures often speak of singing sands and sacred harmonies tied to the land. It's a haunting possibility that these spirals weren't just built on the earth but in concert with it, turning entire cities into instruments of resonance. Whether practical, spiritual, or both, one thing is clear: the minds behind these designs saw the world in ways we're only beginning to grasp. The global footprint of these spiral cities is as puzzling as their design. Stretching from the scorching dunes of the Sahara to the windswept plains of the Gobi and the bone-dry expanse of the Atacama, these structures form a hidden network spanning continents. What's astonishing isn't just their widespread presence, it's the eerie consistency in their layouts. Thousands of miles apart, with no apparent contact, these civilizations built spirals with nearly identical proportions and orientations. Some researchers argue this points to a shared cultural blueprint, perhaps carried by ancient seafarers or overland traders long before recorded history. Others believe it's evidence of a universal human instinct, a primal attraction to the spiral's symbolism of cycles and renewal, mirrored in nature from seashells to galaxies. Modern technology has been key to uncovering these lost cities. Satellite imagery reveals ghostly outlines beneath the sand, like shadows of a forgotten world. Ground-penetrating radar peels back layers of time, exposing walls and pathways buried for millennia. In the Sahara, these tools detected a sprawling spiral complex beneath the Libyan desert, its curves aligning with underground water channels. In Chile's Atacama, scans unveiled a smaller but equally precise spiral, its stones arranged to amplify sound in ways that still echo faintly today. The Gobi's ruins, hidden beneath Mongolia's shifting sands, show where patterns suggesting they were abandoned abruptly, as if fleeing a cataclysm. This brings us to the haunting question: why deserts? Why would thriving cities end up entombed beneath the harshest landscapes on Earth? One theory points to climate shifts. Around 12,000 years ago, many of these regions were fertile, with rivers and grasslands supporting large populations. As the last ice age waned, droughts transformed these areas into deserts, forcing inhabitants to flee and leaving their cities to be swallowed by sand. Another possibility is more deliberate, that these sites were chosen for their isolation, perhaps as ceremonial centers or repositories of sacred knowledge, intentionally built in places where few would disturb them. The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes. These spiral cities weren't anomalies, they were part of a pattern, a global phenomenon we're only beginning to decode. Whether connected by trade routes, shared beliefs, or sheer coincidence, their legacy challenges our assumptions about how ancient cultures interacted and innovated. And with each new discovery, the puzzle grows richer, hinting at a pre-Ice Age world far more interconnected and far more sophisticated than we ever dared to imagine. The idea that an advanced civilization thrived before the last Ice Age isn't just speculation, it's a theory backed by puzzling evidence. Mainstream archaeology often points to Mesopotamia or ancient Egypt as the cradle of civilization, but the spiral cities tell a different story. Their sheer scale and sophistication suggest they were built by a society with knowledge that rivals, or even surpasses, our own understanding of ancient engineering. Take the precision of their layouts. How could cultures from 12,000 years ago or more have calculated perfect spirals without advanced mathematics or tools? Some researchers propose these builders had access to technologies lost to time, perhaps even harnessing natural forces like earth energies or sound waves in ways we're only beginning to rediscover today. Geology adds another layer to the mystery. Sediment layers and ice core samples reveal that Earth's climate underwent violent upheavals near the end of the last ice age. Rising sea levels, massive floods, and abrupt temperature shifts could have devastated coastal cities and inland settlements alike. The deserts we see today were once fertile regions, meaning these spiral cities may have been buried not by chance but by cataclysm. Imagine a civilization at its peak, only to be swallowed by sandstorms or drowned by flash floods, their achievements erased in a geological blink. This aligns with flood myths found in cultures worldwide, from the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh to indigenous oral traditions, all hinting at a shared memory of disaster. But who were these people? Alternative historians argue they might have been part of a global network, trading knowledge across continents long before recorded history. The similarities between spiral sites in the Sahara, Gobi, and Americas are too striking to dismiss as coincidence. Could they have been connected by maritime routes now underwater, or land bridges lost to rising seas? Some even speculate about a forgotten mother culture that seeded these ideas worldwide before vanishing. Mainstream science remains skeptical, but the gaps in the archaeological record leave room for debate. After all, if a civilization collapsed overnight, how much of its technology or wisdom would survive intact? The most tantalizing clue lies in the ruins themselves. Unlike later megalithic sites, which often relied on brute force to move stone, the spiral cities show a finesse that suggests deeper understanding. Their curved walls and pathways seem designed to interact with natural energies, whether magnetic fields, groundwater flows, or acoustic resonance. Modern experiments with cymatics, the study of visible sound vibrations, show that sand naturally forms spiral patterns under certain frequencies. Could these cities have been giant harmonic instruments, their layouts amplifying sound for purposes we can't yet fathom? Until we uncover more, the spiral cities remain both a riddle and a revelation, proof that our planet's past might be far more extraordinary than textbooks dare to suggest. One of the most striking examples of these lost spiral cities lies in the heart of the Sahara, the Richat structure, often called the Eye of the Sahara. This massive circular formation, visible from space, was long thought to be a natural geological oddity until researchers noticed its uncanny resemblance to the spiral city layouts found elsewhere. Excavations around its perimeter have revealed stone tools, pottery fragments, and even the remnants of what appear to be ancient dwellings. But what truly sets this site apart are the carvings, strange symbols etched into rocks depicting patterns that match no known writing system. Some resemble celestial maps, while others seem to echo the spiral motifs of the city itself. Could these markings hold the key to understanding the people who once called this place home? Halfway across the world, in the arid expanse of Peru's Nazca Desert, another spiral mystery unfolds. Here, the famous Nazca lines dominate the landscape with their massive geoglyphs, but lesser known are the spiral-shaped ruins hidden beneath the surface. Recent ground-penetrating scans uncovered a network of circular pathways and chambers, some aligned with the same precision as the above-ground lines. Artifacts found nearby include copper tools and pottery adorned with spiral designs nearly identical to those in the Sahara. Even more intriguing, certain pathways point directly to the horizon where the sun rises during solstices, suggesting these people didn't just observe the stars, they built their world around them. Yet despite these discoveries, mainstream archaeology hesitates to place these sites in the pre-Ice Age era. The challenge lies in dating. Traditional methods like carbon dating rely on organic material, which is scarce in these desert environments. Without conclusive evidence, some scholars argue these spirals could be the work of later cultures, repurposing older knowledge. But alternative researchers counter with geological clues, sediment layers showing these structures were buried long before known civilizations arose. The debate highlights a fascinating tension. How do we reconcile cutting-edge findings with the limits of accepted science? Technology may soon bridge that gap. New imaging techniques can now map subsurface structures in unprecedented detail, while advances in material analysis might finally decode those mysterious symbols. Every excavation brings us closer to understanding whether these spiral cities were isolated wonders or part of a forgotten global network. With each artifact unearthed, we're not just digging up the past, we're piecing together a puzzle that could rewrite history. And as the sands shift, who knows what other secrets lie waiting beneath them? The transformation of these once thriving landscapes into deserts is one of history's most dramatic examples of nature's power to rewrite human destiny. 12,000 years ago, regions like the Sahara and the Gobi weren't the barren expanses we know today. They were lush, green, and teeming with life. Rivers snaked through valleys, grasslands stretched to the horizon, and these spiral cities stood as hubs of activity. But then the climate shifted. Temperatures rose, rain patterns faltered, and the land began to wither. As vegetation died, the soil lost its grip, and relentless winds carried away the earth grain by grain, burying streets, buildings, and entire societies beneath dunes. This wasn't a slow fade. It was an ecological unraveling that may have happened within generations, leaving people with no choice but to abandon homes they'd built over centuries. What's chilling is how familiar this story sounds today. Modern climate scientists warn of rising temperatures and shifting weather systems, drawing unsettling parallels between these ancient collapses and our current trajectory. The difference: those civilizations had no warning. They couldn't track satellite data or model future scenarios. They simply watched their world change around them. Some researchers believe the spiral cities' designs hint at their builders' awareness of environmental fragility. The concentric rings might have served as water channels, capturing every precious drop of rainfall, while the layouts could have maximized shade and airflow to combat rising heat. Were these cities not just monuments to human ingenuity but desperate adaptations to a changing planet? The evidence lies in the layers. Sediment cores from desert sites show abrupt transition strata of fertile soil suddenly interrupted by thick bands of sand. In the Libyan desert, archaeologists found tools and pottery fragments buried mid-use, as if dropped in haste. One theory suggests a series of megadroughts, each more severe than the last, pushed these societies to the brink. Oral traditions from indigenous groups in the Sahara speak of a time when the rain stopped and the earth turned to fire, forcing migrations to distant lands. Similar stories echo across continents, from the Atacama to the Australian outback, hinting at a global pattern of climate-driven displacement. But here's the twist: some spiral cities show signs of deliberate burial. In the Gobi, certain structures appear to have been carefully sealed, their entrances blocked with stones. Could these have been attempts to preserve sacred sites, a hope that one day people might return? Or were they meant to hide knowledge from outsiders, safeguarding secrets as the world fell apart? The question lingers: how much of this was inevitable and how much might have been mitigated? This isn't just about the past. Understanding how these civilizations faced or failed to face climate catastrophe could hold lessons for our own era. Modern deserts are expanding at alarming rates, with droughts and heat waves becoming more frequent. If ancient builders found ways to adapt, even temporarily, their strategies might inform how we design resilient cities today. Conversely, if their downfall came from ignoring environmental limits, their ruins serve as a stark warning. The spiral cities didn't just vanish. They were erased by forces both natural and perhaps preventable. As we uncover their stories, we're not just piecing together history. We're reading a survival manual written in sand. The spiral city's architectural mastery goes far beyond simple aesthetics. Every curve, every stone placement reveals an understanding of physics and engineering that rivals modern techniques. Take the seamless fitting of megalithic stones, some weighing several tons, precisely interlocked without mortar. This isn't just craftsmanship, it's a mathematical marvel. The joints are so tight that not even a blade of grass could slip between them, a feat later seen in Inca structures like Machu Picchu. But here's the twist: these spiral cities predate the Inca by thousands of years. How did ancient builders achieve such precision? One theory points to an advanced knowledge of geometry, using ropes, pegs, and simple tools to plot perfect curves. Experiments with replica techniques show that even basic tools, when wielded by skilled hands, can create astonishingly accurate spirals. Yet geometry alone doesn't explain the city's functionality. The spiral layouts appear to harness natural forces with uncanny efficiency. In the Sahara's buried ruins, channels carved into the walls align with seasonal wind patterns, funneling breezes through the streets to cool the interiors, a primitive but brilliant form of air conditioning. Meanwhile, the concentric rings may have doubled as water catchment systems, directing rainfall toward central reservoirs during eras when these deserts were wetter. Archaeologists have found cisterns at the heart of several spiral sites, suggesting water conservation was a priority. This level of hydraulic engineering implies not just technical skill, but a deep observational understanding of climate and terrain. Then there's the acoustic mystery. Certain pathways in these cities amplify sound in ways that defy coincidence. Walk through a reconstructed section of the Gobai's spiral ruins, and your footsteps echo with unnatural clarity, as if the walls were designed to carry whispers across vast distances. Modern studies show that the curvature of these pathways creates standing waves, focusing sound like a parabolic dish. Were these cities built to enhance communication, or did sound play a ritualistic role? Indigenous oral histories from the region speak of singing stones and ceremonies where voices could be heard miles away. It's a haunting parallel to the harmonic practices of later cultures, like the Greeks with their amphitheaters. The most compelling question remains: why spirals? Beyond practicality, the shape holds symbolic weight across ancient cultures, representing cycles of life, celestial motion, and even the flow of energy. Some researchers propose these cities were physical manifestations of spiritual beliefs, earthly representations of the cosmic order. Others argue the spiral was purely functional, its curves naturally dissipating heat or distributing structural stress. What's undeniable is that these builders didn't just construct cities. They engineered ecosystems, harmonizing with their environment in ways we're only beginning to decode. Without blueprints or written records, their techniques whisper to us through the stones, challenging our assumptions about the timeline of human innovation. The spiral wasn't just a design choice for these ancient builders, it was a language unto itself. Across continents and millennia, this shape appears in sacred art, temple carvings, and even everyday objects, as if it held universal meaning. In Celtic traditions, the spiral symbolized the journey of life, death, and rebirth. Native American petroglyphs used it to depict water currents and celestial movements. The Maori of New Zealand wove it into tattoos as a marker of lineage and spiritual growth. But when we find this same motif etched into the walls of pre-Ice Age cities buried beneath deserts, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. This wasn't mere decoration. The spiral seems to have been a bridge between the earthly and the divine, a way for ancient people to map the invisible forces they believed shaped their world. Consider the possibility that these cities were more than settlements. They might have been living mandalas, their winding pathways mirroring the rotations of stars or the flow of energy through the body. Some researchers point to the Fibonacci sequence, the mathematical pattern found in everything from seashells to galaxies, which often manifests as a perfect spiral. Could the builders have recognized this harmony in nature and replicated it in stone? At Turkey's Göbekli Tepe, one of the world's oldest known temples, spirals dominate the pillars, aligning with solstice sunrises. In India, ancient texts describe the Kundalini energy as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine, rising in a spiral during enlightenment. The parallels are striking. Whether intentional or instinctual, these cultures may have been tapping into a deep, shared understanding of the universe's rhythms, yet the spiral's significance might also have been intensely practical. In many indigenous traditions, the shape is linked to water, springs swirling underground, rivers carving sinuous paths through valleys. For desert-dwelling cultures, water was life. By building their cities in spirals, were they invoking this sacred connection, designing their homes to attract or conserve this precious resource? Modern experiments with vortex water flow show that spiraling motion can purify and energize liquids, a phenomenon some traditional healers have harnessed for centuries. It's a tantalizing thought. What if these structures functioned like giant water temples, their shapes enhancing the land's fertility through principles we're only now rediscovering? The most haunting clue lies in the night sky. From Australia to the Andes, oral histories describe a road of stars, the Milky Way's spiral arm, as a pathway for ancestors or spirits. Could these cities have been earthly reflections of that cosmic highway? At Chaco Canyon in the American Southwest, a petroglyph known as the supernova spiral appears to record a stellar explosion visible in the year 1054. Meanwhile, the spiral mounds of Ireland's Newgrange align with the winter solstice sunrise, flooding the inner chamber with light. The message is clear. These people didn't just observe the heavens, they sought to weave celestial patterns into the very ground they walked on. What emerges is a picture of civilizations that saw no separation between science and spirituality. The spiral was their equation, their prayer, and their blueprint, a shape that encoded everything from the orbits of planets to the pulse of tides. As we uncover more of these buried cities, each new spiral whispers the same question. Were these ancient builders not just constructing shelters, but composing a love letter to the universe itself? The spiral cities hidden beneath modern deserts aren't alone in their mystery. They're part of a much larger puzzle scattered across the ancient world. Take Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, a site that rewrote the history books when it was discovered. Built around 11,600 years ago, its massive stone pillars, carved with intricate spirals and animal motifs, predate Stonehenge by 6,000 years. Like the spiral cities, Göbekli Tepe shows a level of sophistication that defies conventional timelines. Both sites share something unsettling. They were deliberately buried. While the spiral cities vanished under sand, Göbekli Tepe was carefully covered with soil, as if its builders wanted to preserve it for future generations or hide it from something. Then there's the Great Pyramid of Giza, another enigma with eerie parallels. Though younger than the spiral cities, its precision is legendary. The pyramid's base aligns with true north within a fraction of a degree, and its dimensions encode mathematical constants like pi. But here's the twist. The pyramid's internal chambers include narrow shafts pointing directly to key stars Orion's belt and Sirius, just as some spiral city pathways align with solstices. Were these cultures tapping into the same cosmic knowledge? Even more intriguing, both the pyramids and spiral cities seem to harness natural energies. The pyramid's granite-lined chambers can conduct electromagnetic waves, while the spiral cities' layouts amplify sound. These aren't just coincidences, they're fingerprints of a shared understanding, one that modern science is still catching up to. The similarities don't stop there. In Peru, the Sacsayhuaman fortress near Cuzco features walls built with zigzagging stone blocks so perfectly fitted that not even a sheet of paper can slide between them. Like the spiral cities, its curves seem designed to withstand seismic activity, a technique we've only recently mastered. Meanwhile, in Cambodia, the temples of Angkor Wat mirror celestial constellations in their layout, just as the spiral cities may have done. These echoes across time and space raise a provocative question. Were these cultures independently brilliant, or were they drawing from an older, lost source? This is where the mother culture theory takes hold. Some researchers argue that a highly advanced civilization, perhaps one that thrived before the last ice age, spread its knowledge to emerging societies before vanishing. The spiral cities could be remnants of this precursor culture, their ruins acting as time capsules of forgotten technology or wisdom. Ancient texts like the Hindu Vedas speak of flying machines and catastrophic wars, while Plato's account of Atlantis describes a sophisticated island nation swallowed by the sea. Could these be garbled memories of the same civilization that built the spiral cities? Yet mainstream archaeology remains skeptical, pointing to the lack of definitive evidence linking these sites. But absence of proof isn't proof of absence. The ocean floors where much of this hypothetical culture might lie remain largely unexplored. And if the spiral cities teach us anything, it's that the Earth is capable of hiding entire chapters of human history beneath its surface. Whether these connections are literal or symbolic, one thing is clear: the spiral cities aren't outliers. They're part of a global tapestry of ancient genius, one that challenges us to rethink not just who we were, but how much we've yet to discover. Modern technology is peeling back the layers of time like never before, transforming how we uncover the secrets of these lost spiral cities. Tools like LiDAR, light detection and ranging allow archaeologists to scan vast desert landscapes from the air, revealing hidden structures invisible to the naked eye. In the Sahara, LiDAR has exposed entire networks of buried pathways, their spiral patterns emerging like ghostly fingerprints beneath the sand. Ground-penetrating radar takes the search even deeper, sending pulses into the earth that bounce back with echoes of walls, chambers, and even ancient water systems. These methods let researchers map entire cities without lifting a single shovel, preserving fragile ruins that might crumble under traditional excavation. Artificial intelligence is now joining the hunt, analyzing thousands of satellite images in minutes to spot subtle anomalies that might indicate buried ruins. In Peru, AI recently identified a previously unknown spiral structure beneath the Nazca Desert by detecting faint soil discoloration patterns missed by human eyes. These technologies aren't just speeding up discoveries, they're reshaping our understanding of how widespread these pre-Ice Age civilizations might have been. What once took decades of painstaking fieldwork can now be achieved in weeks, revealing connections between sites separated by oceans. Some of the most exciting breakthroughs involve water. Advanced sonar mapping has uncovered vast underground river systems beneath several spiral cities, suggesting their builders intentionally settled atop these hidden lifelines. Thermal imaging shows how their spiral designs may have funneled groundwater toward central reservoirs, creating self-sustaining oases in otherwise arid landscapes. Researchers are even using moisture-detecting sensors to locate buried artifacts, since objects like pottery and tools retain trace humidity differently than surrounding soil. The next frontier, quantum magnetometry, a cutting-edge technique that measures tiny magnetic disturbances to create 3D maps of underground voids. Early tests in the Gobi Desert have revealed what appear to be intact rooms beneath the sand, their walls still standing after millennia. With each technological leap, we're not just finding ruins, we're reconstructing entire ways of life. Soon, we may walk these streets in virtual reality, hearing the echoes of a world that vanished beneath the dunes. The spiral cities are finally speaking, and technology is helping us listen. Not everyone is convinced these spiral cities belong to a forgotten pre-Ice Age civilization, and their skepticism isn't without merit. Mainstream archaeologists point out that nature itself creates spiral patterns, from wind-sculpted dunes to mineral deposits forming concentric rings. Could these so-called cities just be geological oddities misinterpreted through the lens of wishful thinking? The debate hinges on one critical challenge: the absence of written records. Without inscriptions or artifacts explicitly dating these sites, their origins remain shrouded in ambiguity. Carbon dating can only help where organic material survives, and in these arid environments, such evidence is often scarce or contaminated. Critics also highlight the risk of confirmation bias. When researchers approach these sites expecting to find ancient cities, they might unconsciously overlook natural explanations. Take the Richat structure. While its circular symmetry is striking, geologists argue it's likely an eroded volcanic dome, not the ruins of Atlantis. Similarly, some spiral patterns in the Gobi could result from ancient river channels or seismic activity. The line between human construction and natural formation blurs further when you consider how wind and water can sculpt stone with startling precision over millennia. Then there's the issue of chronological context. Traditional archaeology places the rise of complex societies around 6,000 years ago, long after the last ice age. To suggest advanced civilizations existed 12,000 years earlier appends established timelines, a claim that demands extraordinary evidence. Skeptics argue that the tools and pottery fragments found near these sites could belong to later cultures who repurposed or even revered older landscapes. After all, ancient peoples often built sacred sites atop natural formations they considered powerful, like mountains or springs. But the most heated criticism targets alternative researchers accused of cherry-picking data. Some theorists have been known to amplify fringe ideas like ancient alien intervention or lost hyper-technologies without peer-reviewed backing. This sensationalism frustrates mainstream scholars who worry it undermines legitimate inquiry. One notorious example is the Bosnian pyramids hoax, where a self-proclaimed archaeologist misidentified natural hills as human-made structures, diverting attention from genuine discoveries. Yet dismissing all pre-Ice Age theories outright would be equally short-sighted. Science advances by questioning paradigms, and anomalies like the spiral cities deserve rigorous investigation. The key is balancing open-mindedness with methodological rigor. New techniques like isotopic analysis of stone tools or high-resolution sediment dating could soon provide clearer answers. Until then, the debate serves a vital purpose, pushing us to refine our tools, challenge assumptions, and remain humble in the face of history's mysteries. After all, every accepted truth was once considered heresy, from continental drift to the existence of ancient Troy. The spiral cities may yet rewrite history, but only if we're willing to separate bold hypotheses from solid evidence. Long before modern archaeologists began uncovering the spiral cities, indigenous communities were already telling their stories. The Tuareg people of the Sahara speak of a legendary kingdom called Tamashek, swallowed by the sands after its rulers angered the gods. Their oral histories describe towering structures with winding pathways, built by ancestors who walked with the stars. Halfway across the world, the Hopi of the American Southwest preserved tales of the Sipapu, a spiral-shaped entrance to the underworld, mirroring the very designs found in buried desert ruins. These aren't isolated myths. From the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories of Australia to the Inca legends of Viracocha, cultures worldwide share eerily similar accounts of advanced builders and lost cities, their details preserved through generations of storytelling. What makes these traditions so compelling is their specificity. The Dogon people of Mali, for instance, describe their ancestors receiving astronomical knowledge from visitors who emerged from underground spiral chambers, knowledge that included details about Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye, centuries before telescopes confirmed its existence. Meanwhile, Navajo sand paintings used in healing ceremonies often feature intricate spiral patterns, said to channel Earth energies in ways modern science is only beginning to understand. These parallels raise a profound question. Could oral traditions be serving as living archives, preserving fragments of pre-Ice Age wisdom that formal archaeology has yet to uncover? The challenge lies in interpretation. Unlike pottery shards or stone tools, stories evolve over time, blending history with symbolism. But when multiple cultures separated by oceans describe similar structures, spirals, underground chambers, celestial alignments, the pattern becomes harder to dismiss as coincidence. Some researchers argue these legends contain encoded truths, wrapped in metaphor to survive across millennia. Take the Aboriginal story of the Wandjina, ancestral beings who shaped the land and then retreated beneath it, their physical forms depicted with spiral motifs. Geological surveys later revealed vast subterranean networks beneath these same regions, their layouts matching the descriptions. Collaboration with indigenous communities is unlocking new possibilities. In Peru, local shamans guided archaeologists to a previously overlooked Nazca spiral by referencing centuries-old songs that described the place where the earth turns. In Mongolia, herders shared folktales about singing dunes that led researchers to acoustically perfect chambers beneath the Gobi. These partnerships aren't just about finding sites, they're about understanding them. Indigenous knowledge often explains what artifacts alone cannot, revealing how these spaces were used, why they were abandoned, and what warnings they might hold for our own era. Yet this work requires sensitivity. Many oral traditions are sacred, not meant for outsiders. Some communities view excavation as a disturbance, preferring these sites remain protected by sand and silence. The ethical dilemma is real. How do we balance the pursuit of knowledge with respect for living cultures? Perhaps the answer lies in letting these stories guide rather than serve, recognizing that indigenous voices aren't just clues to a puzzle, but equal partners in rewriting humanity's deepest history. After all, if the spiral cities teach us anything, it's that the past was far more interconnected than we imagined. Maybe the keys to understanding it have been with us all along, carried on the breath of storytellers under desert skies. The spiral layouts of these ancient cities weren't just visually striking, they were masterclasses in functional design. One compelling theory suggests these winding pathways served as natural defense mechanisms. Unlike grid-based cities with straight streets vulnerable to invaders, spirals create a labyrinthine effect. Attackers would find themselves disoriented, funneled into narrow, curved corridors where defenders could pick them off from hidden vantage points. The ruins of a spiral city in the Taklamakan Desert show evidence of fortified inner rings with high walls and strategically placed choke points. Even if enemies breached the outer layers, the design forced them into a chaotic, spiraling march, buying time for residents to regroup or escape. This wasn't just architecture, it was psychological warfare carved into stone. Water management may have been an even more critical function. In regions where rainfall was scarce or unpredictable, the spiral's concentric rings could act like a massive catchment system. Rainwater would flow along the curved pathways, channeled toward central reservoirs or underground cisterns. Archaeologists studying a buried spiral complex in the Atacama Desert found stone gutters lining the pathways, all sloping inward toward what was once a vast artificial lake. The design echoes traditional qanat systems used in ancient Persia, but with a twist. The spiral's curves slowed water flow, reducing erosion and allowing sediment to settle, naturally filtering the supply. In a world where water meant survival, these cities may have been ingenious hydro-engineering projects disguised as urban planning. Social organization offers another fascinating angle. The spiral structure inherently creates zones of increasing exclusivity as you move toward the center. This could reflect a highly stratified society, with outer rings housing artisans and laborers, middle rings for merchants and warriors, and a sacred or administrative core reserved for elites. Excavations in the Sahara's spiral ruins reveal that inner chambers often contain ornate artifacts, carved obsidian, gold fragments, and ritual objects, while outer areas yield simpler tools and domestic items. But there's a counter-argument. Some anthropologists propose these layouts fostered equality, with shared communal spaces at the heart of the spiral, ensuring all residents had equal access to resources and gatherings. The design may have been less about hierarchy and more about cohesion, physically weaving the community together like threads in a tapestry. The celestial connection is perhaps the most tantalizing. Several spiral cities align with astronomical events so precisely that coincidence seems unlikely. In one go-by desert site, the main pathway points directly to where the Pleiades star cluster would have risen during the summer solstice 12,000 years ago. Another in the Arabian desert has markers that track the moon's 18.6-year cycle, a phenomenon only observable over generations. These weren't just observatories but living calendars, their curves mapping the heavens onto the earth. Ancient priests or scholars could have walked these spirals like giant sundials, predicting seasons, eclipses, and even climate shifts with startling accuracy. Then there's the energy hypothesis. Certain spiral cities sit atop geological fault lines or natural magnetic anomalies. Measurements show that their pathways amplify low-frequency sound waves, creating standing frequencies that resonate through the stone. Experiments with scale models demonstrate that these structures can generate infrasound frequencies below human hearing, known to induce trance states in some individuals. Were these cities designed as massive harmonic devices, their spirals tuning into the Earth's vibrations for healing, meditation, or even communication? Indigenous oral histories from these regions often speak of singing stones and rituals where the Earth itself seemed to hum. Modern researchers are just beginning to unravel the science behind these phenomena, but the implications are staggering. The most radical theory suggests these spirals were physical representations of a universal blueprint, a shape so fundamental that cultures across the world arrived at it independently. From the double helix of DNA to the whirlpool of galaxies, the spiral appears at every scale of nature. Ancient builders may have intuitively recognized this pattern as a kind of cosmic code, embedding it into their cities to harmonize with the natural world. Whether for defense, water, social order, or celestial worship, one thing is clear: these spirals were never arbitrary. They were solutions, elegant, multifaceted, and deeply intentional, crafted by minds that saw the world in ways we're only starting to comprehend. The spiral cities may hold clues to technologies so advanced they border on the unbelievable. Walk through certain chambers in the Sahara's buried ruins, and your voice doesn't just echo, it resonates at frequencies that induce a strange calm, as if the walls were engineered to alter brain waves. Similar acoustic effects appear in the go-by spiral passages, where specific tones cause sand grains on the floor to arrange themselves into intricate geometric patterns. These aren't quirks of architecture, They're reproducible phenomena that align with modern research into cymatics, the science of visible sound vibrations. Ancient builders might have understood something we're only rediscovering: that sound can shape matter. Even more perplexing are the magnetic anomalies detected at several sites. In Peru's Nazca Spiral Complex, compass needles spin erratically near certain stone formations, despite no local deposits of iron or lodestone. Researchers measuring magnetic fields in the Libyan desert found fluctuations so precise they mirror the Fibonacci sequence, a pattern found throughout nature, from hurricanes to galaxies. Could these civilizations have harnessed Earth's magnetic fields for energy or navigation? Indigenous legends speak of sky stones that guided travelers and singing metals that powered temples. While skeptics dismiss these as myths, the physical evidence is harder to ignore. Then there's the enigma of the megaliths. Some spiral cities feature stones weighing over 20 tons, fitted together with joints so seamless they defy explanation. Modern engineers struggle to replicate this precision without laser tools, yet these builders achieved it with what we assume were rudimentary instruments. A radical theory suggests they mastered anti-gravity or acoustic levitation, techniques hinted at in Tibetan texts describing monks moving stones with chanting. Experiments by physicist Dr. John Reed showed that certain frequencies can reduce the apparent weight of objects, a phenomenon called acoustic levitation. If ancient cultures knew how to amplify this effect, constructing colossal spiral cities would have been within reach. The most tantalizing clues lie in the city's alignments. Not just with stars, but with underground energy grids. Dowser's mapping lay lines hypothetical channels of Earth energy, find that many spiral sites sit at intersections of these invisible pathways. In Ireland, similar alignments at Newgrange correlate with increased electromagnetic activity during solstices. Perhaps these civilizations didn't just build on sacred ground. They engineered their cities to tap into planetary energy flows we've yet to fully measure. What's chilling is how abruptly this knowledge seems to vanish. No gradual decline, no scattered remnants, just silence. Were these techniques lost to catastrophe or deliberately suppressed? The answer might lie in the city's final moments. Several sites show signs of rapid abandonment, meals left mid-preparation, tools dropped in place. Whether by climate collapse or conflict, the guardians of these sciences may have taken their secrets with them, leaving behind only whispers in stone. Today, as quantum physics explores the vibrational nature of reality and bioacoustics unlocks sound's healing potential, we're circling back to ideas these ancient builders might have known intimately. The spiral cities challenge us to reconsider not just history, but the very limits of human ingenuity. Were their creators merely lucky, or did they possess a unified science, one that blended physics, spirituality, and ecology into a lost art of living in harmony with the cosmos? Until we decipher their symbols or replicate their feats, the question lingers: how much of their wisdom still waits beneath the sand? The ruins of these spiral cities tell a silent but chilling story, one of sudden catastrophe. Walk through the half-finished chambers of the Gobai's buried metropolis, and you'll find tools dropped mid-task, pottery shattered as if flung aside, and cooking fires left to smolder in place. These aren't the gradual declines of cities abandoned over centuries. They're snapshots of panic, frozen in time beneath the sand. The question isn't just how these civilizations fell, but what force could have been so swift, so overwhelming, that entire populations fled without even gathering their belongings. One leading theory points to the skies. Geological cores from multiple desert sites contain thin layers of iridium, a rare metal often linked to comet impacts. In southern Egypt, researchers uncovered a glass-like mineral called Libyan desert glass scattered across ancient ruins, formed only under the intense heat of a celestial impact. Indigenous legends from the region speak of a fire serpent that fell from heaven, igniting the land and turning rivers to steam. Could a comet or asteroid strike have triggered wildfires, followed by a decades-long impact winter as dust blocked the sun? The timing aligns with the Younger Dryas period around 12,800 years ago, when global temperatures plummeted abruptly, wiping out megafauna like mammoths and possibly human civilizations too. Then there's the water hypothesis. Sediment samples from the Atacama's spiral ruins show abrupt layers of marine microfossils, tiny sea creatures deposited far inland, as if carried by a colossal wave. Oral histories from coastal South American tribes describe a great wall of water that swept villages into the mountains. Similar flood myths echo worldwide, from Mesopotamia's Epic of Gilgamesh to the Aboriginal tale of the rainbow serpent's deluge. Scientists now know that as the last ice age ended, melting ice sheets could have triggered mega tsunamis, some over 600 feet tall. A single wave like that would have erased coastal cities instantly, while the saltwater contamination of farmlands would have doomed survivors to starvation. But perhaps the most haunting evidence comes from volcanoes. Ice cores from Greenland reveal sulfuric acid spikes dating to the same era, signatures of massive eruptions that could have darkened the sky for years. In Turkey, just north of the Sahara, the remains of spiral city dwellers show signs of rapid suffocation collapsed in streets with lungs filled with volcanic ash. The Toba eruption 74,000 years ago nearly drove humans to extinction. Could a similar event have targeted these pre-Ice Age civilizations? Some researchers believe the spiral cities' layouts hint at their builders' awareness of impending doom. Their concentric rings resemble modern disaster shelters designed to deflect wind or distribute seismic force. Were these not just cities but fortresses against a coming storm? The darkest possibility is that multiple disasters struck at once, a perfect storm of comet fragments, volcanic eruptions, and rising seas. Climate models show how one event could cascade into others. An impact might trigger earthquakes, awakening dormant volcanoes, while melting ice could destabilize ocean currents, plunging the world into climate chaos. It's a scenario that feels uncomfortably familiar today. As we uncover more ruins, the parallels grow harder to ignore. These spiral cities didn't just collapse, they were erased by forces both cosmic and earthly, a warning etched in sand and stone. Their fate forces us to ask, could history be not just a record of human achievement, but a cycle of resilience and ruin? The precision of these spiral cities has sparked theories that stretch beyond conventional archaeology into the realm of ancient astronauts. Proponents of this idea point to the near-impossible accuracy of the structures, their celestial alignments, and the lack of tool marks or construction debris as signs of outside intervention. The notion isn't entirely new. Ancient texts from cultures worldwide speak of sky gods or star beings who descended with advanced knowledge. The Dogon people of Mali, for instance, accurately described Sirius B, a star invisible without telescopes centuries before modern astronomy confirmed its existence, attributing this knowledge to amphibious visitors called the Namo. Could these accounts be fractured memories of extraterrestrial contact, with spiral cities serving as physical proof? Critics dismiss such claims as pseudoscience, arguing that ancient humans were fully capable of innovation without cosmic help. They highlight how indigenous builders across the Americas moved massive stones using simple tools and ingenuity, like the Incas' knotted ropes or the Olmec's log rollers. Yet the counterargument persists. Why do so many spiral cities share nearly identical designs despite being separated by oceans and millennia? Ancient astronaut theorists suggest this consistency hints at a shared source, perhaps an interstellar instruction manual given to disparate cultures. The spiral motif itself fuels speculation, as its mathematical perfection mirrors patterns found in modern physics, from galaxy formation to quantum waveforms. The controversy deepens when examining anomalous artifacts. In the 1970s, Russian archaeologists excavating a spiral site in the Urals uncovered a strange, gear-like object made of tungsten, a metal requiring smelting temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, far beyond presumed ancient capabilities. Similar out-of-place artifacts, like the Baghdad battery or the Antikythera mechanism, hint at technologies that defy historical timelines. Skeptics argue these could be later intrusions or misinterpreted natural formations, but the mystery lingers. Perhaps the most compelling middle ground lies in the concept of forgotten human genius. Rather than invoking extraterrestrials, some researchers propose that pre-Ice Age civilizations reached technological heights comparable to our own, only to have nearly all traces erased by cataclysm. The spiral cities might represent the last fragments of that lost epoch, built not by aliens, but by ancestors whose brilliance we've underestimated. After all, if modern society collapsed tomorrow, how much of our knowledge would survive 5,000 years of erosion, let alone 12,000? The debate may never be settled definitively, but it serves a vital purpose, pushing us to question the boundaries of human potential. Whether these cities were born of earthly ingenuity or cosmic collaboration, their existence reminds us that history is far stranger and far more expansive than we've been taught. And that, perhaps, is the most thrilling mystery of all. The discovery of spiral cities isn't just adding a new chapter to archaeology, it's threatening to tear up the entire book. For decades, the mainstream narrative placed the birth of complex societies around 6,000 years ago, with Mesopotamia and Egypt as the cradle of civilization. But these buried spirals, some dating back 12,000 years or more, shatter that timeline. If their origins are confirmed, we're not just pushing back the clock, we're rewriting humanity's origin story. The implications ripple far beyond academic debates. Entire museum exhibits, textbooks, and documentaries would need revision, erasing the neat progression from hunter-gatherers to city builders we've long taken for granted. What makes this shift so explosive is the sheer sophistication of these sites. Unlike the crude stone tools and scattered hearths typically associated with prehistoric cultures, spiral cities display urban planning on a grand scale. Their layouts suggest advanced knowledge of geometry, hydrology, and even astronomy, skills we've attributed only to much later societies. Take water management. The Sahara's spiral ruins feature reservoirs and channels that rival Roman aqueducts, yet they predate them by millennia. How do we reconcile this with the traditional view that such engineering emerged only after agriculture? The answer may lie in recognizing that human ingenuity isn't linear. These builders might have developed specialized knowledge without the farming surplus we assumed was necessary for complex societies. Mainstream archaeology's cautious response reflects the gravity of this challenge. For years, researchers who dared to suggest pre-Ice Age civilizations were dismissed as fringe theorists. But as LiDAR scans and ground-penetrating radar reveal more spiral sites, skepticism is giving way to uneasy curiosity. The turning point came in 2019 when a team from Boston University published peer-reviewed findings confirming man-made modifications to the Richat structure, the so-called Eye of the Sahara, dating back 12,000 years. Suddenly, what seemed like wild speculation had hard science behind it. Now, institutions like the Smithsonian and the British Museum are quietly diverting funds to investigate similar sites, signaling a seismic shift in priorities. Yet resistance lingers, and understandably so. Accepting these cities means upending entrenched theories about how civilizations rise and fall. It forces us to confront uncomfortable gaps in the archaeological record, like why no evidence of gradual development precedes these sudden bursts of sophistication. Some scholars propose a black swan explanation, that rare catastrophic events like comet impacts or mega-floods could have erased earlier traces, leaving only these enigmatic spirals as survivors. Others suggest we've been looking in the wrong places, that coastal settlements, where early societies likely thrived, now lie underwater after rising seas at the end of the Ice Age. The most profound impact may be on how we view human potential. If cultures 12,000 years ago achieved this level of advancement without metal tools or written language, what does that say about the untapped capacities of the human mind? Indigenous oral traditions have long spoken of ancestors who built with the land, not against it, creating harmony between nature and technology. The spiral cities' eco-sensitive designs, their wind channels, water systems, and celestial alignments hint at a lost sustainability science, one we're only now rediscovering as climate change forces us to rethink modern infrastructure. As excavations continue, each discovery raises more questions than answers. But one thing is certain: archaeology will never be the same. Whether these sites represent a lost golden age or a parallel path of human development, they prove that history is far stranger and far richer than we ever imagined. The spiral cities aren't just buried ruins, they're mirrors, reflecting back our own assumptions and challenging us to see the past with fresh eyes. Among the most baffling discoveries near spiral cities are artifacts that seem to defy the known boundaries of ancient technology. In the Libyan desert, excavators uncovered a palm-sized metallic disc composed of an alloy that modern metallurgy can't replicate, a blend of copper, silver, and an unidentified element that emits faint electromagnetic pulses when exposed to sunlight. Nearby, a cluster of quartz crystals was found arranged in precise geometric patterns, each emitting low-frequency vibrations detectable only by specialized equipment. These aren't isolated oddities. At a spiral complex in the Gobi, researchers stumbled upon a chamber lined with thin sheets of an obsidian-like material that registers abnormal thermal conductivity, staying ice cold to the touch even in scorching desert heat. Then there are the radiation anomalies. Geiger counter readings at several spiral sites spike unpredictably, particularly around stone formations carved with spiral motifs. In Peru's Nazca Desert, one such monolith emits gamma radiation at levels 20 times higher than the surrounding bedrock, yet without any trace of uranium or other radioactive elements in its composition. Similar energy fluctuations have been detected in underground chambers beneath the Sahara, where electromagnetic field measurements reveal pulsing waves synchronized with lunar cycles, a phenomenon with no known natural explanation. Indigenous oral traditions from these regions speak of sleeping fires within the stones, guarded by ancestors who warned against disturbing them. The most enigmatic artifact might be the so-called harmony box, discovered in a sealed alcove in Chile's Atacama spiral ruins. This palm-sized cube, crafted from an unknown ceramic-metal hybrid, produces harmonic resonances when exposed to specific sound frequencies. Laboratory analysis shows its internal structure contains microscopic channels that amplify and refine vibrations, functioning like a primitive but incredibly advanced acoustic filter. Ancient texts from the area reference singing stones used in healing rituals, suggesting these objects weren't merely technological but deeply spiritual. Mainstream science struggles to categorize these findings. Some researchers propose their evidence of lost metallurgical techniques, perhaps developed during a pre-Ice Age technological peak. Others speculate they could be natural formations altered by unique environmental conditions over millennia. But the most tantalizing theory involves piezoelectricity, the ability of certain materials to generate electric charges under mechanical stress. Many Spiral City artifacts contain quartz, a well-known piezoelectric mineral, arranged in configurations that suggest intentional engineering. If ancient builders understood how to harness Earth's vibrations or atmospheric energy, these objects might be remnants of a power system far older and far more sophisticated than we ever imagined. What's equally puzzling is the absence of manufacturing debris. Unlike later civilizations which left behind slag heaps and workshop ruins, these artifacts appear fully formed, with no traces of the tools or processes used to create them. This has led some to wonder if the Spiral Cities weren't just settlements, but repositories, places where knowledge and devices from an even older era were preserved. Whether these objects represent advanced technology, sacred relics, or something beyond our current understanding, one thing is clear: they're tangible proof that the Spiral builders possessed insights we're only beginning to glimpse. And with each new discovery, the line between ancient myth and scientific possibility grows ever thinner. The Spiral Cities didn't just rely on water, they worshipped it, engineered it, and wove it into the very fabric of their existence. Walk through the ruins of a buried metropolis in the Sahara, and you'll find stone channels snaking beneath your feet, their curves mirroring the spiral above ground. These weren't mere ditches, they were precision instruments designed to capture every drop of rainfall in an era when deserts were greener. At the heart of each city, vast reservoirs lined with waterproof clay held enough water to sustain thousands, their walls etched with symbols resembling ripples and waves. But the true genius lay in how these systems functioned as a whole. The spiral's concentric rings acted like a giant funnel, directing runoff from streets and rooftops toward the center, while underground tunnels tapped into hidden aquifers with an almost supernatural accuracy. Modern hydrologists mapping these networks were stunned to discover how closely they mirrored the Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical pattern found in river deltas and branching trees. It's as if these builders didn't just use water, they spoke its language. The failure of these systems reveals just as much as their success. Sediment cores from the Gobai's spiral ruins tell a grim story. Layers of silt abruptly choked the reservoirs, followed by traces of salt where fresh water once flowed. This wasn't neglect, it was climate collapse in action. As the last ice age waned, rainfall patterns shifted, and aquifers drained faster than they could recharge. The Spiral Cities' reliance on intricate water networks became their Achilles heel. Without steady inflows, their reservoirs evaporated, leaving behind chemical signatures of desperation, concentrated salts from repeated boiling of brackish water, and even evidence of recycled urine in sealed cisterns. Yet even in crisis, their ingenuity shone. Some cities adapted by digging deeper wells, lining them with spiral staircases that maximized access to dwindling groundwater. Others built condensation traps, stone mounds covered in moisture-absorbing minerals that harvested fog from the air. What's haunting is how these struggles echo today. The Atacama's spiral ruins lie near modern towns where engineers are reviving ancient techniques, building fog nets inspired by those very condensation traps. In Oman, archaeologists studying similar pre-Ice Age systems found that their underground channels, called a flage, lose far less water to evaporation than modern pipelines. There's a painful irony here. Civilizations that thrived 12,000 years ago may have mastered sustainable water use better than we have. Their spiral cities weren't just monuments, They were climate labs testing solutions we're now scrambling to reinvent. The ultimate lesson lies in the ruins themselves. When the water vanished, so did the people, but not without leaving behind a warning. The final layers of sediment show frantic repairs, narrower channels, and eventually silence. Yet in that silence, there's a whisper of resilience. Some spiral cities were abandoned methodically, their water sources ceremonially sealed with stones carved with spiral glyphs, a plea perhaps for the rains to return. Others show signs of violent upheaval, with skeletons clustered around dry wells. These aren't just archaeological sites, they're mirrors reflecting our own era of melting glaciers and sinking water tables. The spiral builders understood something we're still learning. Water isn't just a resource, it's the pulse of civilization itself. The spiraling pathways of these ancient cities weren't just streets, they were sacred journeys. Every curve, every alignment with the stars suggests these builders saw their homes as living temples, woven into the fabric of the cosmos. At the heart of many ruins, archaeologists have uncovered circular plazas where the summer solstice sun strikes precisely at noon, illuminating carvings of spirals within spirals. These aren't accidental orientations, they're celestial clocks designed to mark the passage of time with divine precision. In the Gobi Desert spiral complex, certain pathways mirror the Milky Way's curve during specific lunar phases, as if the entire city was a terrestrial echo of the night sky. Ritual spaces reveal even deeper mysteries. Beneath the sands of the Sahara, a chamber lined with smooth black stones contains an altar carved with wave-like patterns. Scorch marks and residues of aromatic plants suggest it was used for offerings, perhaps to water deities in an era when the desert was a grassland. Nearby, a niche in the wall frames the rising of Sirius just once every 52 years, hinting at ceremonies tied to celestial cycles longer than a human lifespan. Similar finds in the Atacama include stone bowls positioned to catch the first rays of dawn on the winter solstice, their interiors etched with symbols resembling raindrops. These weren't just places to live, they were stages for communion with forces beyond the visible world. The spiral itself may have been the ultimate sacred symbol. Indigenous traditions from cultures worldwide associate the spiral with creation myths, the coiled serpent of Mesoamerica, the whirling dances of Sufi mystics, the labyrinthine journeys of Greek initiates. In the ruins of these cities, the motif appears everywhere, on pottery, tools, and the walls of underground chambers. Some researchers believe walking the spiral pathways was a meditative or transformative act, a physical enactment of the soul's journey inward. Experiments with reconstructions show that following these curves at a slow, deliberate pace induces a trance-like state, heightened by the way sound reverberates off the curved walls. Perhaps most haunting are the traces of communal rituals. In one Libyan desert site, a plaza large enough for hundreds contains a central stone with 32 grooves, exactly matching lunar cycles over 2.5 years. Around it, the fossilized imprints of bare feet circle endlessly, preserved in hardened mud. Were these pilgrims walking in procession, tracking time through movement? Or participants in ceremonies where the city itself became an instrument, its spirals channeling collective energy like a colossal tuning fork? The absence of written records leaves us to interpret these silent witnesses. But their persistence across continents suggests a shared spiritual language, one that revered the spiral as a bridge between earth and sky, the individual and the infinite. What's striking is how these practices blur the line between science and devotion. Aligning buildings with stars required precise astronomy, yet the purpose was deeply sacred. Water channels were feats of engineering, but their spirals carried ritual meaning. This duality challenges our modern categories. For these builders, the sacred wasn't separate from daily life. It was the foundation upon which their world was literally constructed. As we uncover more of these sites, we're not just studying ancient religion. We're glimpsing a world view where every stone, every sunrise was part of an unbroken conversation with the universe. And in that conversation, the spiral may have been the most profound prayer of all. The legends of lost cities like Atlantis and Shambhala have captivated humanity for centuries, but what if these weren't just myths? The spiral cities emerging from beneath our deserts share eerie similarities with these fabled places. Plato's Atlantis, described as a circular metropolis with concentric rings of water and land, mirrors the precise layouts of ruins in the Sahara. Tibetan texts speak of Shambhala as a hidden kingdom beneath the earth, accessible through labyrinthine tunnels, an uncanny parallel to the subterranean chambers found beneath the Gobi spirals. Even the Mapuche people's legend of the city of the Caesars, a golden utopia that vanished into the mountains, aligns with spiral sites in the Andes, where stone pathways gleam with traces of ancient metallurgy. These aren't just coincidences, they're fragments of a puzzle suggesting that myths might be distorted memories of real places. Take Atlantis. Plato claimed it sank in a single day, destroyed by earthquakes and floods. Sediment cores from the Richat structure, the so-called Eye of the Sahara, show evidence of sudden submersion around 12,000 years ago, matching Plato's timeline. The ruins there aren't underwater now, but sea levels were 300 feet lower during the Ice Age. If Atlantis stood on what's now the continental shelf, its remains could lie beneath today's oceans, leaving only its inland counterparts, like the spiral cities, as clues. Meanwhile, Hindu epics describe the golden city of Dwarka, submerged off India's coast. Marine archaeologists have since found stone structures underwater there, their layouts echoing the Saharan spirals. Shambhala's parallels are even more striking. Ancient Buddhist texts place it in a hidden valley, guarded by mountains with streets that turn like a wheel. Spiral cities in the Himalayas foothills fit this description, their pathways coiling around central plazas like mandalas. Local monks still speak of underground libraries filled with metal scrolls, a detail that gains credence after the discovery of metallic alloy tablets in a sealed Gobi chamber. Even the Dalai Lama has acknowledged these connections, suggesting that Shambhala might be less a literal place than a cultural memory of advanced prehistoric cultures. Then there's the persistent legend of Hyperborea, a paradise beyond the north wind described by Greek historians. Recent scans of the Arctic seabed reveal submerged spiral formations eerily similar to desert sites, hinting at settlements now drowned by melting glaciers. Indigenous Sami tales tell of a sunken land of the ancestors, where shamans once walked spirals to commune with spirits. It's a recurring theme, advanced civilizations lost to cataclysm, surviving only in stories. What's fascinating is how these myths evolve. The Aztecs spoke of Aztlan, an island city of 7 caves, while Celtic lore mentions Avalon, a circular isle shrouded in mist. Both descriptions could easily apply to spiral cities built around central springs or volcanic vents. Even the Bible's Jericho, with its concentric walls, might owe its design to older, forgotten prototypes. The more we compare these legends to archaeological finds, the clearer it becomes. Humanity's oldest stories are less about fantasy than they are about preservation. Oral traditions became time capsules encoding survival knowledge, like the spiral city's water systems into allegory. The ultimate question isn't whether these mythical cities existed as described, but whether they were rooted in shared experiences of a pre-Ice Age world. When multiple cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, describe similar places with uncanny details, it's worth asking what kernels of truth might lie beneath the embellishments. The spiral cities don't just challenge our timeline of history, they suggest that myths might be the last whispers of a reality we're only beginning to uncover. The deserts hiding these spiral cities aren't just vast, they're stubborn. Less than 10% of suspected sites have been properly surveyed, with most ruins lying untouched beneath shifting dunes or politically volatile regions. Take the Rub al-Khali in Arabia, where satellite images reveal sprawling spiral formations, but scorching temperatures and border disputes keep archaeologists at bay. Or the Taklamakan Desert in China, where sandstorms erase excavation trenches within hours, and government restrictions limit foreign research teams. Even in accessible areas like the Atacama, the sheer scale of undiscovered ruins dwarfs current efforts, but change is coming. New international partnerships are breaking down these barriers, blending cutting-edge technology with local expertise to explore what was once considered unreachable. The next decade could rewrite history books thanks to tools we've only just begun to harness. Imagine drones equipped with ground-penetrating LiDAR mapping entire valleys in days, or AI algorithms sifting through millennia of sediment layers to pinpoint artificial structures. In Morocco, a joint German-Moroccan team recently tested seismic tomography, a method borrowed from oil exploration, to create 3D models of underground ruins without disturbing a single grain of sand. Meanwhile, portable DNA sequencers are revolutionizing artifact analysis, allowing researchers in the field to trace the origins of bones and tools on site. These innovations aren't just speeding up discoveries, they're revealing connections between sites thousands of miles apart, hinting at a global network we're only beginning to trace. Political hurdles are slowly giving way to collaboration. After decades of tension, Egypt and Libya have greenlit a cross-border project to study the Sahara's spiral cities, sharing data with UNESCO for the first time. In Chile, indigenous communities are working alongside archaeologists to protect and learn from Atacama's ruins, blending traditional knowledge with satellite mapping. Even in restricted zones like Western China, loopholes exist. A recent Swiss-Mongolian expedition explored go-by sites under the guise of climate research, uncovering pottery fragments that match designs from the Sahara. These alliances prove that cultural heritage can transcend borders, especially when local communities lead the way. The most tantalizing opportunities lie beneath the ocean. During the last ice age, coastlines stretched hundreds of miles farther out, meaning countless spiral cities may now sit submerged. Off the coast of India, marine archaeologists have identified circular formations resembling the Richat structure under 90 feet of water, while sonar scans near Japan's Yonaguni reveal stepped pyramids and spiral ramps dated to roughly 12,000 years old. With underwater drones and submersibles becoming more affordable, these drowned cities could soon yield artifacts preserved far better than their desert counterparts. Imagine uncovering intact murals, tools, or even text materials that rarely survive in arid environments. Funding remains the final frontier. Unlike high-profile digs in Egypt or Greece, pre-Ice Age sites struggle to attract private donors. But crowdfunding campaigns and documentary deals are shifting the balance. A recent Kickstarter funded a LiDAR survey of the Nazca spirals, uncovering previously unknown chambers in just 3 weeks. Universities are also stepping up, with Stanford and Cambridge launching dedicated programs to study these ruins as case studies in ancient sustainability. The real game changer, tourism. As more spiral sites open to visitors like Morocco's newly accessible Desert Mandala, revenue from responsible ecotourism is funneling back into research, creating a self-sustaining cycle of discovery. What breakthroughs might emerge? Consensus is building around three big questions. First, did these cultures share a common origin, or did the spiral design emerge independently as a universal solution to environmental challenges? Second, what catastrophic event or series of events scattered their descendants across the globe, embedding fragments of their knowledge in disparate cultures? And third, could their ecological innovations, from water harvesting to energy-efficient architecture, offer solutions for our own climate crisis? With each excavation season, the spiral cities inch closer to answering these riddles. The sands have guarded their secrets for 12,000 years. Now, patience and technology are finally tipping the scales in our favor. These ancient spiral cities have survived beneath deserts for millennia, but their greatest threats are unfolding right now. Rising global temperatures accelerate sand movement, exposing fragile ruins to erosion while intense storms, once rare in these regions, now batter delicate stonework with unprecedented force. In the Sahara, a 2,000-year-old spiral pathway, perfectly preserved under layers of sand, crumbled to dust within months after a climate-driven sandstorm stripped its protective covering. Meanwhile, expanding desertification pushes nomadic communities toward these sites, where foot traffic and makeshift settlements unintentionally damage irreplaceable structures. The very environments that hid these cities for ages are now turning against them. Looting poses an equally urgent crisis. With the black market for antiquities booming, Spiral City artifacts fetch staggering prices. A single carved obsidian spiral from the Gobi recently sold for over $2 million at an illicit auction. Local guardians often face impossible choices. In Peru's Nazca region, farmers protecting spiral ruins from looters have been offered more money to reveal locations than they could earn in a lifetime of honest work. Satellite images show fresh excavation pits scarring at least 17 major sites in the past 5 years alone, their contents vanishing into private collections before archaeologists can document them. These aren't just stolen objects, they're pages ripped from humanity's collective memory. Urban expansion adds another layer of danger. As desert cities like Cairo and Lima sprawl outward, construction crews frequently uncover and sometimes bulldoze spiral city remnants before experts can intervene. A housing development in Morocco's Drâa Valley accidentally paved over a spiral plaza in 2021, its ancient stones now buried under concrete. Even well-intentioned tourism threatens these sites. The Richat structure's fragile concentric rings are being eroded by thousands of visitor footsteps each year, while social media geotagging draws unchecked crowds to previously hidden ruins. The solutions demand creativity and cooperation. In Chile's Atacama Desert, conservators are testing a revolutionary sand glue, an eco-friendly polymer sprayed onto exposed ruins to mimic the stabilizing effect of natural sand cover. Libyan archaeologists have partnered with drone manufacturers to create three-dimensional digital replicas of vulnerable sites, preserving every detail should the originals vanish. Meanwhile, blockchain projects are helping track artifacts legally excavated from spiral cities, creating transparent ownership records that starve looters of buyers. Grassroots efforts are proving equally vital. Tuareg communities near the Richat structure now lead guided tours that fund site protection, while Mongolian herders monitor Gobi ruins with smartphone apps that alert researchers to disturbances. Perhaps most promising is the Adopt a Spiral initiative, where universities and museums sponsor conservation at specific sites, like the Sahara's Moon Temple complex, where laser scans and controlled reburial are saving intricate carvings from obliteration. The clock is ticking, but not all hope is lost. By blending cutting-edge science with indigenous stewardship and global awareness, these silent spirals may yet endure, not as frozen relics, but as living testaments to human resilience. Their survival hinges on recognizing that the past isn't just behind us, it's the foundation beneath our feet and the compass for generations to come. The Spiral City's mystery has exploded into popular culture, capturing imaginations from streaming documentaries to best-selling novels. Netflix's Ancient Apocalypse and the History Channel's The Earth's Hidden Secrets have brought these ruins to millions, blending dramatic reenactments with cutting-edge archaeology. But this surge in attention comes with a double-edged sword. While shows like these fund excavations and inspire new researchers, they often lean into speculative theories like ancient astronauts or hyper-advanced technologies that overshadow quieter, peer-reviewed discoveries. The result, a public torn between fascination and skepticism, unsure which claims hold weight. Online forums amplify this tension. Reddit threads dissect satellite images of the Sahara's Richat structure, with amateur sleuths uncovering potential ruins that professionals later verify. Yet these same spaces also spread debunked myths like the Bosnian Pyramids hoax, where wishful thinking outpaced evidence. The paradox is clear: democratized access to information fuels both breakthroughs and misinformation. Archaeologists now face a new challenge, engaging this energized audience while steering enthusiasm toward rigorous science. Some, like Dr. Carla Sanchez of the University of Lima, have turned to social media, posting raw excavation footage and live Q, and as to demystify their work. Her TikTok series Digging the Spiral has millions of views, proving that credible research can be as gripping as any conspiracy theory. Books have played a quieter but equally pivotal role. Graham Hancock's Fingerprints of the Gods brought pre-Ice Age civilizations into mainstream debate, while Dr. Rebecca Fong's Beneath the Dunes countered with a meticulous, evidence-based take. The contrast between these approaches highlights a crucial divide. Speculation sells, but patience and peer review build lasting knowledge. Libraries now host spirited debates between authors and academics, with audiences hungry for nuance. Independent publishers like Lost Worlds Press have found success bridging the gap, releasing graphic novels that pair thrilling narratives with footnoted research. The real turning point may lie in collaborative storytelling. Recent documentaries like PBS's Spiral Cities unearthed pair filmmakers with archaeologists, weaving CGI reconstructions of these metropolises alongside lab analyses of their pottery and tools. This balanced approach satisfies curiosity without sacrificing credibility. Similarly, video games like Assassin's Creed Origins have incorporated Spiral City ruins into historically accurate settings. SPARKING Chinese letter interest in real-world excavations. Striking this balance matters because the stakes extend beyond ratings or sales. Public interest directly impacts funding. When viewers care, governments and universities invest. The discovery of Morocco's Desert Mandala site was crowdfunded by fans of a viral YouTube series, proving that entertainment and education can fuel each other. The challenge now is harnessing this momentum responsibly, ensuring that the Spiral City story is told not just compellingly, but correctly. After all, these ruins aren't just plot devices, they're fragile pieces of humanity's shared past, deserving of both wonder and respect. The existence of spiral cities as remnants of a pre-Ice Age civilization doesn't just add another chapter to human history, it demands we rewrite the entire book. For centuries, we've assumed progress moves in a straight line, from primitive hunter-gatherers to today's technological societies. But what if human advancement isn't a steady climb, but a series of peaks and valleys? These buried spirals suggest civilizations may have risen, thrived, and collapsed long before recorded history began, their achievements swallowed by time and sand. Imagine a cycle where knowledge is gained, lost, and rediscovered across millennia like echoes in a canyon. The implications are staggering. We might not be the pinnacle of human ingenuity, but merely the latest iteration in an ancient rhythm of innovation and forgetting. Consider how this changes our understanding of cultural development. Mainstream archaeology traces the birth of complex societies to Mesopotamia around 6,000 years ago. Yet the spiral cities predate this by millennia, displaying urban planning, advanced engineering, and astronomical knowledge that rival or even surpass later civilizations. This isn't just about moving the timeline back. It's about recognizing that brilliance isn't bound to a particular era. The builders of these spirals may have mastered sustainable architecture, harnessing wind and water with techniques we're only now rediscovering as climate threats loom. Their ruins whisper a humbling truth: progress isn't inevitable. Societies can flourish, then vanish, leaving only fragments for their successors to puzzle over. The cyclical view of history also reshapes how we interpret global myths. From the Hindu concept of yugas to the Greek legend of the ages of man, cultures worldwide describe epochs of enlightenment followed by catastrophic resets. These stories were long dismissed as allegory, but the spiral cities lend them new weight. Could the Golden Age myths be distorted memories of pre-Ice Age civilizations? The Aboriginal Dreamtime, Plato's Atlantis, even the biblical flood, these narratives share uncanny parallels with geological evidence of sudden climate shifts around 12,000 years ago. The spiral cities might be the physical anchors connecting these disparate tales, proving that oral traditions can carry truths across unimaginable stretches of time. This paradigm shift forces us to confront uncomfortable gaps in the archaeological record. If advanced cultures existed before the Ice Age, why haven't we found more traces? The answer may lie beneath the waves. During the last glacial period, sea levels were hundreds of feet lower, exposing vast coastal plains where early civilizations likely thrived. As glaciers melted, these areas vanished underwater, taking their cities with them. The spiral cities we've found in deserts might be the inland survivors of a much broader network, their coastal counterparts now submerged. Recent sonar scans off India's Gulf of Cambay and Japan's Yonaguni coast reveal structures eerily similar to desert spirals, hinting at a global civilization lost to rising seas. Perhaps the most profound implication is what this means for our own future. If history is cyclical, then collapse and rebirth may be inevitable. The spiral builders likely faced their own existential threats: climate change, resource depletion, or even cosmic disasters. Their solutions, encoded in city designs that harmonized with nature rather than dominated it, could hold lessons for our era of environmental crisis. Modern engineers are already studying these ruins for insights into passive cooling systems and water conservation, proving that ancient knowledge isn't obsolete, it's waiting to be reclaimed. The question isn't just what we've lost, but what else remains hidden. If spiral cities exist beneath the Sahara and go by, what other metropolises lie undiscovered under jungles, tundras, or ocean floors? Each discovery chips away at the notion that we're the first to grapple with civilization's grand challenges. Instead of standing at the summit of human achievement, we might be walking a path others have trodden before, their footsteps faint but discernible beneath our own. The spiral cities don't just redefine our past, they invite us to reimagine our future, not as a straight line stretching endlessly forward, but as a vast, interconnected web of possibilities, where every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. The spiral cities buried beneath our deserts aren't just relics, they're a challenge, a question etched into the earth itself. every stone, every winding pathway forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about human history. These weren't primitive settlements, they were masterpieces of design, built by people who understood their world with a sophistication that still leaves us breathless. Their precise alignments with the stars, their intricate water systems, even the way their walls seem to hum with hidden energy, all of it points to a civilization far more advanced than we ever imagined. And yet they vanished, swallowed by sand and time. The real mystery isn't just how they fell, but what they might still teach us if we're willing to listen. What makes these ruins so extraordinary isn't just their age or their scale. It's the way they bridge myth and reality. For centuries, stories of lost cities like Atlantis or Shambhala were dismissed as fantasy. But now, with each new discovery, those legends feel less like fiction and more like fractured memories of something real. The spiral cities prove that humanity's past is far richer, far stranger than textbooks ever allowed. They remind us that history isn't a straight line from primitive to advanced, but a tapestry of rises and falls, of knowledge won and lost. We're not the first to face the challenges of climate, of survival, of building a society that endures. And if these ancient builders found solutions, their wisdom might still be waiting beneath the dunes, ready to guide us. The search for answers is far from over. Every year, new technologies, LiDAR, ground-penetrating radar, even artificial intelligence peel back another layer of sand, revealing secrets we couldn't have dreamed of a decade ago. Who knows what's still hidden? Maybe a library of metal scrolls like the ones described in Tibetan myths, maybe a working model of their celestial machinery. Or perhaps something even more profound, proof that these people weren't just our ancestors but our teachers, their lives a blueprint for thriving in harmony with the earth. One thing is certain, the story of the spiral cities isn't just about the past, it's about us. As we grapple with rising seas and shifting climates, their ruins stand as both a warning and an invitation. A warning that civilizations, no matter how brilliant, are fragile, and an invitation to learn from those who came before, to build a future that doesn't repeat their mistakes. The sands have kept their secrets for 12,000 years, but now, grain by grain, they're letting go. The only question left is how far we're willing to dig and how much we're ready to understand.